Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and we now have all of the new uniques that will be coming for Last Epoch. So if you don't want to see the new uniques, definitely turn around, don't click on this video, but I made that pretty abundantly clear in the thumbnail and in the title. But there are 13 new uniques coming to Last Epoch in 1.0, so let's go ahead and see what they are and what good they'll be for. First up, we have the Wheel of Torment. This is going to be a two-handed staff with the unique base type of the Abyssal Staff. This comes with melee damage, spell damage, and -3 spell mana cost as implicits. It gives you 1 to 3 levels of all Acolyte spell skills, up to 15 intelligence. When you directly cast Soul Feast, you curse yourself and up to 1 nearby enemy per 10 intelligence with Torment, which is pretty sweet. You can actually just put Torment on yourself. You gain haste for 3 seconds when you directly cast Soul Feast. You also have increased effect of haste on you, necrotic penetration with Torment, and a chance to cast 𝐁𝐿 Fissure when you hit a boss or rare with Soul Feast and don't have an active Fissure. What's really sweet about this is you're going to be moving really quick with that increased effect of haste, as well as gaining haste with Soul Feast. So this is probably meant as a very fast moving build. Overall, I really like it, and this could be a fun way to play around with Torment. Next, we have Unvar's Rise, and this is an idol. It's a 1/3, meaning that it's 1 with a width and a height of 3 for your large idols here. Once you have 1 rune for runic invocation, your runes cannot change until they are consumed. 1% chance per intelligence for 11% more elemental damage with 1 runic invocations. That's actually pretty crazy that you can have that. The 11% more because you'll probably have 100 int on a mage build, so you'll have 11% more damage for your 1 rune invocations, which is pretty cool. It's multiplicative with other modifiers, and it doesn't say that this is limited to just having 1 idol, so assuming that there's a chance if you threw 4 of these on, you could have up to 44% more damage, is pretty crazy. We have Unvar's Exile. This one is a 1/4 idol, so it's a huge idol that stands straight up. Once you have 3 runes for runic invocation, your runes cannot change until they are consumed. 3% chance per intelligence for 33% increased elemental damage with 3 runics. Notice that this is an increased damage, not a more modifier like the last one that we looked at. We have Unvar's Hegemony. I probably pronounced that way wrong, but this is a 2/2 idol. Once you have 2 runes for runic invocation, your runes cannot change until they are consumed, with a 2% chance per intelligence for 22% elemental penetration, and that's pen is a more modifier, which is really big. Then we have the Communion of the Erased, which is a belt. This one has the stats on the item are doubled for a second when you use a potion, which could be really interesting how much life you jump up to when you do that. You get +1 potion slot per equipped Weaver item, and then of course increased armor, mana spent to gain disward, and more damage to stunned enemies. We have the Stygian Coal. This one gives up to 18 intelligence, which I think is the most you can get on any catalyst. It also has increased necrotic damage, ward per second while channeling, chance to ignite, apply damned while channeling, and then drain life repeatedly cast Stygian beams instead of your normal draining effect, which sounds really cool. 0.01 increased Stygian beam frequency per intelligence. Curious, that's supposed to be a percentage. I think that's probably 1% increase per frequency, so if you have 100% int, you would cast it twice as often, and 3% more Stygian beam damage per 10 current mana. So as you use drain life and it whittles down your mana, it would be even less. I'm curious if you can like throw this on your minions to get the mana back and have it as a cast and forget. I don't think it any longer counts as a channeling skill, so you may no longer be able to, but it says instead of its normal draining effect. It doesn't say while channeling, so it would be really cool if you can still play it as a cast and forget, throw it on the ground, have minions in it so that it has unlimited or giving you back mana, and then it's just shooting out beams. If you can do that, that would be really cool. And then we covered this one in the post the other day when they teased it, but we have a new shield called Sigion's Reprisal with block chance, block effectiveness, physical damage, gives plus levels to shield throw, and then you can get some flash damage with shield throw as well based on damage reflect to attackers, which is pretty cool. So you can do a damage reflect shield throw build, which would be really awesome, as well as be able to retaliate on block. So a very tanky, damage reflecting shield throw build might now be possible. Then we have the Spine of Malatros, and this one looked really cool as well. This one gives plus level to fire skills, damage over time skills, and level of all skills, which is pretty sick. But this changes 𝐾𝐿 Fissure cast Flame Rip instead of releasing spirits. And the Chthonic Fisher skill tree will apply to the Flame Whip from all sources, as well as critical strike multiplier will be increased with Flame Whip per 10% uncapped necrotic resistance, and then it also gives you a ton of flat spell damage. A cool way to turn your Chthonic Fisher from spirits or chaos bolts into instead Flame Whips, which is basically like a big flame that just whips enemies as its attack instead of shooting on a spirit, which is really, really cool. I'm definitely excited to play around with this one. And then we have the Vial of Volatile Ice. This gives you int, it's an offhand catalyst, 100% of acid flash base damage converted to cold, poison chance from all sources is converted to frostbite chance to apply frostbite on cold hits, and then increased area for cold area skills, and increase cold damage and freeze rate multiplier. So if you've been looking for a cold frostbite freeze build with acid flash, definitely going to be possible around this one. Then we have a Blood Roost. This is a pair of gloves. It gives increased bleed and poison duration, minion movement spill, minion physical penetration with bleed, up to 3 levels to falconry, up to 300% of your bleed chance granted to your falcon, a bunch of dexterity, and 1 health gained per dex when your falcon hits an enemy, which is actually pretty insane. If you have 100 dex on a build, you get 100 health every time your falcon's doing a hit, which seems pretty nuts. Overall, this seems like a very powerful unique for your falcon. Then we have Falcon Fists, and this one was teased the other day in the post that they showed us, and I really want my hands on this one as it seems very, very powerful. But this is for your unarmed builds. By implicit, it gives you armor and endurance, and then it gives you flat damage increase with Cinder Strike melee damage per level of falconry while unarmed. So as long as you don't have a weapon on, you're going to get increased area and flat damage for Cinder Strike per level of falconry, which you can get, depending on what uniques you're wearing, well above 20. Not to mention that this by itself also can give you up to 4 levels, so you can get 24 levels just by wearing this. You also get levels to Cinder Strike, and then while unarmed, your falcon's hits grant Cinder Strike plus 4 melee damage and 1% area for 6 seconds, and I assume that that can stack. And this also gives flat melee fire damage for you and your minions, so your falcon will get some damage, you'll get damage out of this, you'll get a huge boost just based on the levels of falconry, and then of course every time your falcon does a hit, even more melee damage. So you can really scale up and probably get even more damage through this than you would be able to with a LP or two-handed exalted item that had a ton of flat damage. So really looking forward to this. I think that it will work really, really well, and it's one of those fun ones where you just go around with just your fist, punch enemies, and make them bleed. And then we have the Talons of Valor, which is one of the bows that I definitely want to use on my dive bomb build that I have, and this one gives a ton of damage and levels to skills. So this comes with an implicit of 60 bow damage, gives you increased bow damage and critical strike chance. Remember that you can scale all of those with your falcon, so it's a big boost to you and the falcon. You can get up to 4 levels for aerial assault, dive bomb, and falconry through this, and then when you critically strike an enemy, your falcon gains plus 25 melee damage for 4 seconds, and your falcon abilities recover 25% of the remaining cooldown. This does have a 1-second cooldown, but as long as you're spamming it, you can give your minion up to 100 flat melee damage through this, which is a huge amount of flat damage. With all those extra levels to take all those juicy more modifiers in the nodes, this is a very powerful unique, especially if you're playing around with the falcon. And then last but not least, the coolest unique that I've seen in a long time, this is the Wraithlord's Harbour. And this is the one that was made by Dark Harbour. And, oh dude, this is insane. This one has implicits of increased cooldown recovery, minion increased cooldown recovery, and armor. And then the real cool things. You get plus level to summon Wraith, increased minion movement speed, you get flat minion melee damage as well as minion spell damage. Casting Summon Wraith instead summons a Wraithlord. The Wraithlord scales with your Summon Wraith skill tree and summons other Wraiths for you while in combat. These Wraiths still count as ours, not the Wraithlord's, and scale with the Summon Wraith tree, not the Wraithlord's Summon Wraith tree. While at max Wraiths, the Wraithlord casts necrotic beams and regularly consumes all of your non-Wraith minions to empower itself, gaining temporary maximum health equal to 10% of their maximum health plus 10 spell damage for 10 seconds. Which just seems absolutely nuts. This unique, oh boy, gonna be hunting for it. I assume it's going to be very, very rare, but you know, it's gonna be a fun one if you can find it, and I am definitely looking forward to giving this one a shot. But that is all 13 of the new uniques. Let me know which one is your favorite in the comments below. As always, that's gonna be it for me. Stay safe and have a good one.